guys, what is going on, Blossoms back? Welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. And as you can see, what do you think about my hairline? Huh? Not the hairline, but hairstyle. Look at that. Look at that. Ain't that gorgeous? I'm joking. My hair is too long. I'm trying to grow it out because I want to change my hairstyle a little bit, but in order to do so, I need to grow it out. But anyway, guys, that's not what we're here for today. We're not talking about my hairstyle today. Today, we're talking about remember the RQ 10 to 100 series? Well, it has gotten a facelift, and do I regret it? Yeah, a little bit, because this took like 2 times as long to make than the regular 10 to 100 series, which did just fine. But I do think that it's hopefully worth it. Let me know down in the comments below if you like this new format better or the old one. But anyway, guys, today in this series, we want to talk about the Fast Circuit. The Fast Circuit has always been an interesting track to me. Fast Circuit and Hairpin are some of the most interesting tracks in terms of the vanilla tracks in Top Drives, where we might not truly understand what will be the winner, right? These are tracks where MRA is a little bit more important, but although there are some long straights, there's still a lot of turns, right? So, you know, this isn't the best track to run like a Dodge Demon, for example. Although the Dodge Demon has a very low 0 to 60, you know, this track still has a couple of turns, and that 77 handling on the Dodge Demon is going to weigh it down. So today, we're going through the best in RQ, the best RQ10, all the way to 111 of every single car for this track set, okay? So as always, guys, we're going to begin with RQ10, the TVR Tina. So if you had to find yourself using an RQ10, and, you know, you're in a situation where you needed to save on a fast circuit, I wouldn't recommend that. But if you were in a situation where you needed to save on a fast circuit, you only had 10 RQ to use, your best possible bet was going to be the TVR, or is going to be the TVR Tina. It has a time of 1:24.34, and I think some of the fastest times will go down to about 56 seconds. So there is at least like a 30-second difference almost between these cars. But anyway, we're starting off the TVR Tina. At the bottom, like I said, it's a facelift to the series, the new format. We've got the time to beat and the current time. Now, the reason why I got time to beat is sometimes, you know, RQ11, you know, like for example, sometimes the Alfa Romeo Spider might be the best RQ11, but there might be an RQ10 that beats this car and all the other 11s as well. So that's the reason why I have those little times at the bottom. But anyway, moving on, the Alfa Romeo Spider S3, if you go with 332, it's the best RQ11 car you could use on a fast circuit. Now, just to let you know, this is fast circuit dry, it's standing, not rolling, okay? It has a time of 1:22.75. Moving on, you know, the best car for RQ12, I almost said 12th place, so that's not true. But for the best RQ12 you can use is a 1:21.95. It is the Lancia Fulvia Coupe, again at 323. Then we have the Alfa Romeo Sprint GTV with a time of 1:24.43, which is the best RQ13 car that you can use. Now moving on, we're moving down at least 1 second, right, for every car that we see so far. The Alfa Romeo Junior Z is up next, being the best RQ15 you can use. Basically, when it comes to, what I notice is when it comes to the common meta for performance tire cars, it's usually an Alfa Romeo that wins it. Moving on, Nissan Prince Gloria Super 6 is up next with a time of 1:19.21 at 323. The best RQ17 car is the Alfa Sud Quadrifoglio Verde with a time of 1:18.48. Then moving on, we have the Datsun 240, very close, 1:18.11. So just about, what, 30 centiseconds separating these two cars. Then we got the Renault Fuego Turbo, which comes in at a time of 1:17.30. So, I would say that in terms of the commons for the fast circuit, it's very balanced, right? Like, there's no anomalies here. You know, every 11 is beating 10, every 19 is beating an 18, stuff like that. Also, one thing to note is that the tune on this thing is at 332. That's going to be a better option. But overall, memorize this if you like. These are all the best common cars per RQ for the fast circuit. So if you have to use a 19, Fuego. If you have to use an 18, Datsun. If you have to use a 17 RQ, use the Alfa Sud, etc, etc, etc. How many Alfa Romeos are actually in this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So out of the 10 winners here, half of them are Alfa Romeos, which I think is pretty interesting. And then obviously the golden circle right here, right? This goes to the Renault Fuego Turbo being the best option that you can use. Now, moving on to the uncommons. This is where we see the first display of the time to beat, where it changes. So the Volkswagen Volkswagen Scirocco GTI, starting this off with the uncommons, has a time of 1:17.61. This is the best RQ20 car that you can use. That being said, although it beats all RQ20s, it fails to beat the Renault Fuego Turbo, right? Fuego is 1:17.30, this is 1:17.61, which is to say that although the Volkswagen Scirocco is the best RQ20 you can use for the fast circuit, if you can use an RQ19, use the Fuego Turbo instead. This also says that the Fuego Turbo is not only the best common, but it beats every single RQ20 in the game when it comes to the fast circuit drive, which is very impressive on the Fuego's part. So that's one thing to remember as well. And this is a great example of using this new facelift system of RQ10 to 100, because now you have, you know, what's the word? Not a virtual, but you have. I'm getting distracted because the thunder outside is going crazy right now. But I guess you have a visual representation now of the actual winner, actual king of the hill. Now moving on, RQ21. Now this one honestly like just shocks me because like this has a 7.30 to 60, which is really bad. But apparently the off the line of this car is crazy. The Mazda Kabura at 323 has a time of 1:15.68, and this will be the best car for quite some time. Not only is it the best for RQ21, but it's also the best for RQ21 and 22, because the Ford Mustang M81, although it's the best RQ22 car you can use, we're just comparing that to RQ22s. It gives off a time of 1:16.56, but the Kabura is almost an entire second faster at 1:15.68, so that's the time to beat, and it hasn't beaten that. Moving on to RQ23, again, the TVR Jannetta, sorry, not the TVR Jannetta, what? The Jannetta G28, with a time of 1:16 flat, still fails to beat the Mazda Kabura, so the Mazda Kabura is still the standard here. RQ24 is the Ford Capri, with a time of 1:15.73, which is still not enough. It's close, but it's still not enough to beat the Mazda Kabura. The next real winner here is the Peugeot Asphalt. And the really interesting thing here is that for the Peugeot Asphalt to be the best RQ25, you need to go drag spec. And the thing is, not a lot of people are going to drag spec the Peugeot Asphalt. Everyone's going to go 323. Nobody's going to go 332. But if you do, you got the best RQ25. By why use a 332 Peugeot Asphalt when you can just use a Mitsubishi Steyr Turbo with a time of 1:14.45? That's your next best king of the hill, and it remains that way because it beats all the 27s. The best 27 you can use, however, is the MX-6 A-Spec with a time of 1:14.85. 1:14.85, yes, and the time to beat is 1:14.45. There's a little bit of a typo. This should be 45 instead of 85, but yeah, the Mitsubishi Steyr Turbo is still the best car to use. Moving on, RQ28, we have ourselves the Holden Monaro, and if you watch my best car for each track set series, you will know that this is the best uncommon car for the fast circuit, and it still is. 1:14.16, that is the time, and it beats the Ford Mustang Mach 1. The best RQ29 you can use gives off a time of 1:14.41, but it doesn't beat the Monaro's time of 1:14.16. So just some food for thought. But anyway, guys, over here are all of your uncommon winners. The best RQ29 is the Mach 1. The best RQ28, also the best one overall, is the Holden Monaro CV6. We've got the Mazda Speed, the Mitsubishi Steyr, the Peugeot Asphalt, the Capri, Jannetta, Ford Mustang, Kabura, and Scirocco. I think the main things to remember here for the fast circuit uncommons is to look for a Mitsubishi Steyr Turbo if you need to save a little bit of RQ. If you want to save a lot of RQ, you can use the Mazda Kabura. And if you want to use the best uncommon for the fast circuit, it will still be the Holden Monaro CV6. Okay, moving on to the rares now. We got the Buick Riviera Concept that starts with a pretty good time of 1:12.65, and that remains the best, beats all the 31s. The Acura Integra comes in at 1:12.95, and then we have the Pontiac Firebird at 1:12.81. So the Buick Riviera Concept is not only the best RQ30 you can use, but if you have even 32 RQ, it's better to just use the 30 RQ Riviera. No point using a Fiero, no point using an Acura Integra. If it's a fast circuit, might as well go for the Buick Riviera because it has a better time. It also remains the same for RQ33, beating out the Camaro IROC Z, which is crazy. The IROC is a time of 1:12.68, while the Buick Riviera sails a time of 1:12.65, so it comes close, but it doesn't beat the RQ30. Our next winner comes in the Abarth Punto Evo. This is a time of 1:12.21, so that's our next king of the hill. But that is short-lived because we've got the Fiat 124 Spider, which becomes the next best car, at 1:11.83. That remains the case. The Abarth Punto Evo Assesse, whatever you want to pronounce that, has a time of 1:11.90. But it does lose to the Fiat 124 at 1:11.83. Very close, but again, winning is winning. Moving on to RQ37, Cadillac ELR, still useful for something, I guess. It's the best RQ37 for the fast car. Not only 37, but it's the best RQ37 and below for the fast circuit dry at a time of 1:11.55. That being said, though, this car still isn't what it used to be. Moving on to RQ38, we've got the Renault Sport Clio V6, which actually still loses to the Cadillac ELR, so that's a little bit of something, right? If you want to use a rare fast circuit, but you can't use a Corvette C4, for example, you can't use an RQ39 overall, then your next best bet is going to be a Cadillac ELR. That being said, there are a lot of strong RQ39s. Aside from the Chevrolet Corvette C4, what comes close would be the I think it's the Renault. I forget what it's called. The one it's not the Ferrari Dino, but the one that's always the Alpine. It's the Alpine A4, 42 is that what it's called? But yeah, that's a good one, but it's not as good as the Chevrolet Corvette C4. 323, it gets a time of 1:10.91. There you go. So not only is it the best RQ39, it's the best rare you can use in a fast circuit. Here again are your cheat codes. Best cars to use here, I would say, is the Chevrolet Corvette C4 if you want to save some RQ, the Fiat 124 Spider, and if you want to save a lot of RQ, the Buick Riviera Concept is going to be a pretty decent one for you to use as well. Now, moving on to the super rares, we've got the Alfa Romeo Sprint 6C being the best one at 111.23. The Chevrolet Corvette C4 still being the best. So not only is it the best RQ39 and below, it also beats all the 40s. So if you can use a super rare, but you can only use a 40 and your tracks as a fast circuit, you might as well use a rare instead of using a super rare, right? Just save one RQ. You can spend that one RQ elsewhere. So the C4 is a great car. Moving on, the Renault 5 Turbo. This one's up next. This is your next best king of the hill at a time of 1:10.41, beating out the Corvette 1:10.91. So there you go. Next best one. Moving on is the Alpine GTA V6. It does lose to the Renault 5, and this honestly tells me that the Alpine GTA V6, it tells me two things. A, it shouldn't be 42. It should go down to a 41. But B, it also doesn't deserve to be a rare because it is still being the best RQ42 at a fast circuit drive. This used to be a rare, right? So it was a little bit too overpowered to be a rare. It definitely deserves to be a super rare, but not a 42. And this tells me that it probably should be around that 41 mark. Moving on, RQ43 is the Renault Sport Clio V6. Is honestly very surprising with all these French winners because they don't make dragsters. But, you know, that's the thing. You know, fast circuit isn't just for dragsters. You gotta handle significantly well enough to clear a fast circuit drive because there's some turns on that track set too. Moving on to RQ44 with the Honda S2000. This one you want to tune drag spec. 332 gives you a time of 109.95 for finally going sub 110s. Look at that. New horizons, right? Moving on, Hyundai i30N 109.31. We've got the Dodge Razor 109.01. We've got the Buick Blackhawk 108.50. Infiniti G37 108.45, and of course we got the Ford FPV GT 40th Anniversary Edition at 108 flat. So again, here are your cheat codes for all of the super rares, the Ford FPV being the best super rare you can use for the fast circuit. Now take note of the tune, 332, yeah? Not 323, not 233, 332, right? And obviously the Infiniti coming up next, the Buick Blackhawk, Razor, Hyundai i30, Honda S2000. Again, if you want to save some RQ, you can go Renault 5 Turbo. If you can use like a mid-range car, maybe a Hyundai i30 or a Dodge Razor. And of course, if you want to use the best of the best, the Ford FPV is going to be great as well. Not a lot of anomalies here though. The cars are just getting better and better and better. With, you know, the only anomaly being the Alpine GTA losing to the Renault 5 Turbo, but that's it. Alright, moving on. Ultra Rares. Di Tommaso Pantera SI starts us off. Tune at 233. It'll give you a time of 107.91. We've got the Alpha Giulia at 108.10. So that loses to the Di Tommaso Pantera, which is to say that if you have 51 RQ to use for a fast circuit, use an RQ50. Because nothing in 51 is going to beat the Di Tommaso Pantera, okay? Moving on with the Vauxhall Forenza Old Nail. This is where you're going to start seeing more prize cars. At 233 has a time of 106.95. Now, moving on, we've got the Honda Civic Type R, which isn't the best. You should still use an RQ52. The Vauxhall Forenza is a better car. Civic Type R giving you a time of 107.31. We've got the Citroen Saxo at 106.40. This Chevrolet Astro at 106.76. Saxo still better. Porsche 911 Turbo 3.0 at 106.83. Again, the Citroen Saxo is still better. Bait of my existence, I can't seem to unpack that car. Suzuki Ignis is next at 57. Again, like the ELR, you know, a car that got nerfed, a car that we said has gotten killed. But I guess it's still good in some places, so you can use this car on a fast circuit if you want to save some RQ. 106.25, not that bad. But then, you know, so close to it, you got 106 flat, which is the Alfa Romeo Giulietta TCR, which is just a better car to use. All right, so that's the issue. Why use the Ignis when you can use the Romeo Giulietta? And look at the changes: 4395 to 4.7, 101 handling. Right? Maybe we should put these two cars together and see which is the ultimate winner. I would say it's the Giulietta TCR. Moving on, the Slammer is up next at 106.06, but it doesn't beat the Giulietta. So again, if you have 59 RQ to use, no need to use an RQ 59. Use a 58. Giulietta is going to be a better car. We've got the Mazda BBR MX-5 that's up next, 105.56. Mini John Cooper Works, 105.55. BMW 1 Series, 105.13. I think there are a lot of BMWs here. BMW M3, 105.09. And the Alfa Romeo 8C Spider Concept at 104.76. Again, this is the best car, tuned at 233 for the fast circuit for ultra rare. So again, here is your cheat code. Some really good cars here, to be honest. The 8C is great. I never rated the car when it first came out in Amalfi Coast, but then again, you know, a lot of RQ64s have gone up to the epic ranks, right? A lot of those Jags, the XKRs, for example, not only the Jags, but the Peugeot Maxi Turbo, the Holden, the Fiji, they've all gone up to epic. So since they've all gone up to epic, it has opened up, you know, a space for the Alpha 8C to flourish. So yeah, it's a good car now. It wasn't a good car when it was introduced, but it's a good car now. Some other cars to take note of would be the Mini John Cooper Works, because that's a great car for front wheel drive metas. The Mazda BBR is a great little ultra rare prize car. The Citroen Saxo is fantastic. Alfa Romeo Giulietta is a great one as well. And if you really want to save some RQ, D Tomaso Pantera SI. Now moving on to the epics, we start off at 104.59, the Mazda Atlantis Super Touring at 233. And then this one, according to Top Drive's records, the best car, RQ66, is a 4-wheel drive Audi. I call bullshit, okay? I'm not putting that in. It's gonna be the Ford Mustang Mach 1. This was second on TDR. The time that the Audi gave was like a 103.50 or something like that. I call bullshit. That someone put in the wrong time for that. Ain't no way, dude. But yeah, fast circuit drive 104.46. So that's gonna be, you know, quote unquote the best one. This is based off my assumption. Moving on, Renault R5 Maxi Turbo 104.24. We've got the Ultima Spider 103.76. Ford GT40 103.59. We've got the D Tomaso, and most of these cars are going to be tuned 233 now, as you can realize. D Tomaso Pantera Group 4 103.16. I kind of regret not getting this. I wish I did. It's a very cool epic. Would I have maxed it out? Probably never, but it's a cool car. Vauxhall Firenze Baby Bertha. I never won this one. 102.71, and then we've got 102.38 in the Jaguar XJS TWR. A lot of motorsport epics that we're seeing now, right, for the fast circuit. Then we've got a BMW M6, because this is like 101 MRA. Time of 102.31 at 233. This is a pretty good one. Maybe I should max this one day just for funsies. Then we've got the BMW M1 Pro Car Group 4. This is a car that I've wanted to fully upgrade for a very long time, but I never have. I love the photo. I love the car. It's sick. 348 100 MRA, I think. High top speed. Best RQ74. 101.94. Great looking car. I want to max it out. I just, you know, it'll be a passion project one day, I guess. Currently maxing out a C63. We got a Porsche 924 Carrera GTP up next, 101.69. Basically, all these are just slick tires at this point. Tuscan race car, 101.14. We got the Alpha 155 V6 at 194. We got the Roof SCR at 194. So these two cars actually tie. All right, so these two cars actually tie. And then last but not least, king of the hill, we've got the Rizvani Beast Alpha X, the best epic you can use on a fast circuit, giving it a time at 1 minute 51 centiseconds. So again, here are your cheat codes. How many of these cars are slick tire motorsport cars? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of 15. So yeah, mostly and those are slick tire motorsport cars. If I'm counting just motorsport cars, it'll be 10, because the Maxi Turbo is motorsport, I'm pretty sure, but it doesn't have slick tires. I don't know, I'm not sure if the Ultima Spider has that motorsport tag, but there you go. These are your best epics for the fast circuit. Not the best handling stuff, but they definitely still handle, right? 99, 98, 95. That anomaly is honestly the BMW M6 with 95 handling, but it's still one of the best ones to use. 100 handling here and there, and then the best car being the Alpha Beast with 97. So you gotta find that. That's the thing about the fast circuit. You gotta find that sweet spot, right, where you have good enough handling, but also good enough MRA, but also good enough, like a low enough 0 to 60 as well. Okay, moving on. Legendaries. Legendaries took up a lot of it because it goes from RQ80 to 111. So, like, you know, there are going to be 30 legendary cars or some shit like that. Mazda RX Vision 128. I want to get to the sub 59s. I think the first one we'll see is 5999 which should be the Mercedes CLK GTR, which should be coming up but now. There you go, 5999. There you go, 233. This is your best fast circuit drive for RQ82, the CLK GTR. I love this car. I have it. I want to max it, man. I do, but it's just 15 Ultra. That's 15 Epic. Sorry, that's really freaking expensive. We got the Cadillac CTS-V sedan, 5934, and then we've got the Porsche 911 GT3 RSR at 5939, which loses, by the way, to the Cadillac CTS-V. So the CTS-V is not only the best RQ83, it will beat every single RQ84 Legend, which is, you know, that's a flex, you know, when it comes to the Legendaries right now. I think for the Epics, everything just kind of moved up, you know, accordingly. But for the Legends, that changes. We've got the Cadillac CTS-V Coupe race car at 5894, and it also beats out the Aston Martin 177. So not only is this Cadillac the best of the 85s, it'll beat out all of the 86s as well, because the best that the 86 can give me is 5914. Moving on, we got the Dodge Viper GTSR at 5881, the Mercedes AMG SLS GT3 at 5813, another Legendary that I want to fully upgrade, but please get a better photo on this, I swear, please. We got the Brabham, the car that I hate the most. I hate this car, I really, really do, but it's good in a fast circuit, and you will see soon. 5781, not only is it the best RQ89, but it's also the best of the 90s, which I find very hard to believe, but apparently so. It beats the Chevrolet Corvette IMSA GTO, but then again, this car did get a nerf, but my goodness, it beats it, huh? 5788 compared to the Brabham's 5781. It remains the best too, actually, because it beats out the, I think I did an error. Is this an error? No, I went backwards. There you go. The Bentley Continental GT3. So the Brabham is still the best. So not only is the Brabham BT63 GT2 the best RQ89 and below fast circuit car, it also beats out all the 90s. It also beats out all the 91s. At least, you know, the ones that are recorded on, you know, Top Drives records. So yeah, 5791 to the Brabham's 5781. But then we got a new winner, the Audi R8 LMS GT3 at 5776. Then we got the Nissan R383. This thing is insane. This thing is absolutely insane. 5751. But then it loses to the Nissan GTP ZX Turbo at 5708. Then moving on to 95, we got the Nissan R85V, which loses to the previous car. So this is on 5709, but this is a 5708. Very, very close. Literally 1 cent a second. But winning is winning. The GTP ZX Turbo, you can save 1 RQ and win by 1 cent a second. Look at that. A lot of Japanese cars, eh? Alright, moving on. We've got the Aston Martin Vulcan 5704. We've got the Brabham Ultimate Track 5681. The McLaren Speedtail with the same, 5618. I said 81, right? 18. 5618. Same on both cars. Both 233. And genuinely speaking, I think the Brabham BT62 is the better car here because you can go 233, and it makes sense to go 233 on this. This one, it doesn't make sense to go 233. It makes sense to go 332 on the McLaren Speedtail, right? Not a lot of people should go 233. I think more people will go 332, and if you go 332 on this, you get a worse time on the fast circuit. But then again, this is more of a test bowl and drag car. Moving on, Jaguar XJR9, 5596. Then you've got the Koenigsegg 11, 5568. Love this car. MRI on this thing is ridiculous. Used to be one of the best back in the day. And then we've got the Porsche Mission R at 5451, Ford Supervan at 5413, and this remains the best for a couple of cars, I think. Yeah, it beats out the FAP. So the FAP, yeah. So this 5413. Like I said, there are too many cars here. So 5413, it beats out the 908. This is 5551. It beats out the Jesko Absolute. It's 5499 compared to 5413. It beats out the Lotus Avia. It beats out the Rimac E-Runner. And it even beats out the Aurora Agile. So the only car that comes next after the Ford Supervan 4, that's RQ102, is 6 RQ higher. The RQ108 Automobile Pininfarina Battista at 5411. Then the Anniversario at 5398. And then you've got the Rimac Nevera at 5364. And then the best car in the game for the fast circuit is the Audi R18 at 5336. That is the best car. There is no car that can get a time better than 5336. The Audi R18 is the boss of that track set. Maybe one day when that Porsche 919 comes around, it might be better. But for now, those are your cheat codes. I do apologize. My camera is probably blocking like the Supervan and the 908 and the Ultimate Track and the Aurora Agile. But you can see most of the cars here. So the cars that you want to go for, Audi R18. If you don't have that, you know, Rimac Nevera, Pininfarina Battista, Both Batistas are pretty good, actually. Aurora Jill, not that great, but the Ford Supervan 4 is a pretty decent one for you to use as well. But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for today. We are indeed done. That is time. Congratulations to the Audi R8 team being the best car for the fast circuit. I hope that you guys learned something and took something away from this video. Something insightful, something beneficial for your knowledge of the game. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys have a great day. We're going to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville.